AITA for refusing to help my friend pay rent after she spent her money on concert tickets. She makes expensive purchases, eats my food, but doesn't pay rent or return the money. So, I 22 female currently live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my friend, let's call her Taylor 23 female. We've been living together for almost a year now. It is not a luxury apartment or anything fancy, just a small, functional place that we split everything for right down the middle. Rent, utilities, groceries, Wi-Fi, all 50-50. I'm a full-time student working a part-time job, and she works full-time at an office job. Money is tight for both of us, but we've always managed to make it work. Or at least, we used to. Last week, rent was due. We usually pay it on the 1st, and we each transfer our half to our landlord directly through an app. Pretty straightforward. On the evening of the last day of the month, Taylor approached me and said she couldn't cover her half this time. She said her paycheck was unexpectedly short and that she had some automatic payments hit her account she forgot about. She looked stressed, apologized for the last-minute notice, and asked if I could spot her half of the rent, just until her next paycheck in 2 weeks. She said she felt terrible even asking, and that this was a one-time thing. I won't lie, I was really stressed out by her request. My own finances are always on the edge, and I budget very carefully. Covering her half of the rent would drain most of my emergency savings, but at the same time, I didn't want to let her down or have us both in trouble with the landlord. I reminded myself that we were friends, and sometimes people go through rough patches. I figured if it was really just this one time, I could grit my teeth, transfer the full rent, and tighten my belt for the next 2 weeks. So I told her yes, I'd help her out, but she had to pay me back as soon as her paycheck came in. She thanked me profusely and promised she'd pay me back. I went to bed a little anxious, but at least the rent was paid. The next day, I'm scrolling through Instagram during a break from class, and I see Taylor's story. She's at a massive concert in our city, one of those stadium-sized events that people talk about for weeks. She had posted videos from the crowd, selfies with friends, merch photos, and clips of the artist singing live. I was shocked. I didn't even know she was going to this concert. And from the look of her seats and the amount of merch she posted, she definitely did not cheap out. At first I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe someone gifted her the ticket. Maybe she won it. I was trying to think of any possible explanation that didn't involve her deliberately choosing a concert over paying rent. But when she got home that night, I asked her about it. Calmly, at first. I asked her if she had gone to the concert, and she said yes. Then I asked if someone gave her the ticket or if she paid for it, and she admitted that she had bought the ticket herself, a whole month ago, when she first heard the artist was coming. She said she never thought her finances would be this tight by now, and she didn't want to miss what she called a once-in-a-lifetime experience. She said concerts are one of the few things that make her feel truly alive and that she couldn't just pass it up. I was stunned. I told her how unfair it was that she had money to go to a concert but not to cover rent that I had to stress about and cover on her behalf. She rolled her eyes and told me I was being harsh. She said that experiences like this are important for her mental health and that if the roles were reversed, she would have done the same for me. I told her I wouldn't have let it come to that, because I actually budget for my responsibilities and make sure rent is covered before spending on luxuries. Things got tense very quickly. She said I was making her feel like a burden and that I didn't understand how hard she works or how badly she needed a break. I told her that I get it, mental health matters. But priorities matter too. And choosing a concert over rent? That's not a mistake. That's a choice. A deliberate one. She could have sold the ticket or asked me for help before the last minute if things were looking rough, but she didn't. Instead, she banked on me picking up the slack. Since that argument, we haven't spoken more than a few words. She's been cold, slamming doors and avoiding me in the apartment. A couple of mutual friends found out what happened, probably because she vented to them, and now I've been getting mixed reactions. Some of them are on my side and say she crossed a line. Others are telling me I'm being too rigid and that I should be more understanding. One even said I was acting selfish, because concerts are her escape and that everyone deserves to treat themselves sometimes. But here's the thing, I'm not angry that she went to a concert. I'm angry that she chose to go to a concert knowing she might not be able to pay rent. I'm angry that she waited until the very last day to tell me and let me take on the stress and financial hit, while she was out dancing in a stadium. I'm angry that she thinks I'm heartless for calling it out. I didn't sign up to be someone's safety net when they're making impulsive decisions and treating responsibilities like optional tasks. I don't know where we go from here. I'm not looking to end the friendship, but I also can't shake the feeling that she took advantage of my kindness. I feel like if I just let it go, it'll happen again. And I hate being in this place where I feel like the bad guy for having boundaries. So am I the asshole for refusing to cover her rent in the future and for calling her out on prioritizing a concert over her responsibilities? Update 1. It's been a few weeks since the rent and concert debacle, and I wish I could say things improved. Spoiler, they didn't. Not even a little. After the argument about the concert, Taylor shifted into this strange limbo of passive-aggressive behavior that was somehow both subtle and suffocating. She wasn't outwardly hostile, she didn't scream or slam doors or pick fights, but her presence in the apartment turned into this icy, silent force field. Every word felt weighed down. Every interaction was laced with something unspoken. It was like walking on glass, but the glass was invisible and the cuts were slow. We used to talk about everything, late-night vent sessions, cooking dinner together while playing music, staying up to watch shows we were both addicted to. That was gone. It evaporated overnight, like none of it had ever mattered. I'd come home from class and find her on the couch scrolling through her phone with headphones in, not even glancing up. I'd say good morning and get a half-hearted grunt in return, if anything. The kitchen became a shared space only in theory. She'd wait until I was out or holed up in my room before going in there, like even crossing paths with me had become a chore. It was so cold, so deliberate, like she was punishing me for not being cool with the fact that she chose a concert over paying rent. And still, I tried to be the bigger person. I wasn't looking to drag the tension out. I continued doing the things I normally would, asking if she needed anything when I was heading to the store, leaving space for small talk if she ever wanted to take it. I wasn't pushing, just trying to signal that I was open to moving forward if she was willing to have a grown-up conversation. But she wasn't. Instead, her behavior started changing in these subtle, almost passive ways, the kind that build up like dust until suddenly, everything feels dirty. One afternoon, I came home early from class. My professor had canceled a midterm last minute, which was a blessing in disguise because I was running on fumes. All I wanted was a hot lunch and a few hours to breathe. As I walked up to our building, I looked through the hallway window and saw Taylor inside, struggling slightly to carry several large shopping bags. Not plastic grocery bags or anything from Target. These were glossy, logo-stamped boutique bags, the kind you only get from those high-end stores downtown that always smell like rich people perfume and sell things I can't even pretend to afford. I stopped in my tracks for a second. My brain did this weird flicker, like trying to reconcile what I was seeing with what I knew, namely, that she still hadn't paid me back a cent of the rent money I'd covered for her. But I gave myself the usual internal pep talk. Maybe she was returning something. Maybe she was picking something up for someone else. Maybe, despite appearances, this wasn't what it looked like. I didn't want to leap to conclusions, not again. Not after the concert fight. I told myself to wait it out. Be patient. Don't spiral. That night, all of my rationalizations got thrown out the window. Taylor came into the living room like she was stepping onto the cover of a fashion magazine. She had done her makeup, hair curled perfectly, nails freshly painted. She was wearing a jacket I recognized instantly because I had seen it featured in a fashion blog, a limited-release designer piece that retailed for just under $300. And on her feet were brand new boots, shiny and high quality, and absolutely not from the discount bin. She didn't say anything. No, hey, check out this outfit, or guess what I splurged on. Just silence. Like she didn't feel the need to explain. Like I wasn't even there. And that was when it hit me. The absolute audacity of it. I was eating microwave rice bowls and skipping coffee runs just to make up for the dent in my budget from her rent, and she was walking around our shared apartment dressed like she was heading to a launch party. The contrast between our lives was so stark it felt like a parody. I was losing sleep and doing mental math at the grocery store, while she was out living like nothing had happened. Like she didn't owe me. Like I didn't matter. I didn't say anything that night. I just let it sink in. The little shift in my mindset wasn't so little anymore. That was the moment the scales started to tip in a way I couldn't ignore. I wasn't seeing a friend trying to recover from a hard month. I was seeing someone who had no intention of owning up to the mess she made, someone who was comfortable letting me clean it up while she treated herself to luxuries I couldn't dream of affording. Then the food started disappearing. It began subtly, small things at first. A few protein bars missing. My oat milk lower than I remembered. A yogurt container gone. I chalked it up to forgetfulness. We had shared snacks before. No big deal. But it kept happening. One day I opened the freezer and 2 of my frozen dinners were gone. The next week, I spent an entire Sunday afternoon batch cooking meals for the week ahead. With school, work, and back-to-back shifts, it's the only way I can stay sane and avoid wasting money on takeout. I labeled everything by day, stacked them neatly on the middle shelf, and felt this small spark of control in the chaos. By Thursday, half of them were gone. I stood in front of the fridge for longer than I'd like to admit, just staring at the empty space where my meals had been. It wasn't just frustration. It was this deep, slow-boiling anger. This creeping sense of betrayal. Because it wasn't just food that was missing. It was effort. It was planning. It was money I didn't have to spare. It was hours of chopping and cooking and cleaning, gone without so much as a sticky note or a text. And the worst part? When I finally asked her about it, she smiled. Smiled like she was being charming. Like it was all just light-hearted fun. She said, "You're such a good cook," I couldn't resist. Like that was supposed to excuse everything. Like I should be flattered that she had eaten half my week's worth of meals without permission, without apology, without even the bare minimum effort to pretend she cared. No mention of replacing anything. No hint of remorse. Just that smug, careless smile. That was it. That was the precise moment I snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But internally, something broke. Something that had already been bending under the weight of unfairness, financial stress, and emotional exhaustion. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just stopped. I stopped hoping she'd do the right thing. Stopped making excuses for her. Stopped trying to extend empathy where none was being returned. I had tried to be kind. I had tried to be understanding. I had assumed this was temporary, a rough patch, a lapse in judgment, a misstep she would make amends for. But no. She hadn't bounced back. She had bounced on me. Hard. She was walking around like everything was fine, like she had no responsibilities, while I was scraping by, covering both of our financial burdens, and now literally feeding her on top of it. And the money? The food? Sure, they hurt. But what stung the most was the entitlement. The way she acted like this was just how things were now. Like of course I'd pick up the slack. Of course I'd be there to bail her out, again and again. The way she looked at me like I was the unreasonable one for finally having a boundary. Like I was supposed to quietly absorb the inconvenience of her poor choices, without complaint, without expectation. I felt like I had been recast in my own life. No longer the friend or the equal or the roommate. Just the fallback. The afterthought. The emotional and financial safety net she thought she could lean on whenever it suited her. Like I was her backup wallet and personal chef. Update 2. So, I did something that the version of me from a few months ago would never have even considered. But that version of me, the one who kept giving people the benefit of the doubt, who carried other people's weight while quietly burning out, she's long gone. Current me. She's done being played. She's done being guilt-tripped into silence, into servitude, into pretending everything is okay just to keep the peace. She's exhausted, raw, and finished bending over backwards for someone who clearly sees kindness as a blank check. I sat down at my tiny desk one night with a spreadsheet and a highlighter. I went through my bank statements, text receipts, digital transactions, every cent I had spent over the past month that I wouldn't have spent if Taylor had simply held up her end of the deal. I included her half of the rent, the full utility bill I had to pay out of pocket because she forgot to send me her portion, the groceries she had eaten without asking, the meal prep she'd consumed in 2 days, even the cleaning supplies I'd picked up when she stopped pitching in and started treating shared spaces like hotel rooms. I itemized everything. Line by line. Then I printed it out. 3 pages. Stapled. Neat. No emotion, no accusations, just numbers. I slipped the pages into an envelope and added a note on top, handwritten in black ink. The note didn't have a lecture. It wasn't bitter or nasty. It simply said, "This is what I'm owed." That night, after another dinner where she silently walked past me and then emerged from her room dressed for some social event, I waited until she was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. I walked over, placed the envelope next to her, and walked away. No eye contact. No explanation. Just the facts in a sealed packet. It felt cold. It felt transactional. But it also felt necessary. I went back to my room and closed the door. I sat in silence for a while, the kind of silence that hums in your bones. About 10 minutes later, I heard her door swing open. Then I heard the envelope being picked up and the pages being rustled. Then, laughter. Disbelieving, short, sharp laughter. She thought it was a joke. I could tell immediately by the tone. She must have imagined I was bluffing, trying to prove a point with no intention of following through. Then I heard her voice rise. Not loud enough for me to catch every word, but loud enough to hear the anger. The disbelief. She couldn't believe I had actually tallied it all up. That I had dared to assign a price tag to everything she had taken for granted. And then, the inevitable storm, the door slammed, hard enough to rattle the picture frames in the hallway. The echo of it lingered longer than the noise itself. She didn't speak to me the next day. Not even the usual cold shoulder. Just total avoidance. Like I had become radioactive. I noticed her pacing the apartment that afternoon, muttering under her breath, texting furiously. She was clearly trying to figure out what to do. She hadn't expected consequences. She hadn't expected me to shift from understanding roommate to someone who would actually demand accountability. And then came the night that I heard her break. It was around 10 p.m. I was lying in bed, reading, and the apartment was unusually quiet. Then I heard her voice, muffled, shaky. She was on the phone with someone, probably in her room with the door closed, but the walls in our apartment are thin, and I could hear just enough to recognize the tone. She was crying. Not angry crying, but the kind of gutted sobbing that comes from desperation. Her voice cracked several times, and I heard phrases like, "I didn't know it would get this bad," and "I need help." I didn't want to eavesdrop, so I put on my headphones and let her have whatever moment she was having. The next morning, I woke up early to study before my shift. I walked into the kitchen and saw an envelope sitting on the table with my name written on it. It was heavy. Heavier than just a letter. I opened it and inside was a check, a real, physical check. It was written out from a personal account with her father's name on it. And it was for the exact amount I had listed in my spreadsheet. Every cent down to the dollar. Rent, utilities, groceries, cleaning supplies. Paid. There was nothing else in the envelope. No note. No apology. No thank you. Just the check. It was the most transactional moment of our entire friendship, and somehow it felt like the most honest one too. She hadn't tried to explain or justify anything. She had just paid the debt. That day, I didn't see her until late in the afternoon. I was heading out the door, and she was coming in. We almost bumped into each other in the hallway. For a second, we locked eyes. Her face was puffy, like she'd been crying again, but she held her expression tight. She didn't say anything. Didn't ask if I got the check, didn't offer any explanation for how she got the money, didn't apologize or even break the silence. Just gave me this stiff, tight-lipped nod, not quite angry, not quite grateful. Just acknowledgement. A nod that said, "I got the message." And that was it. She didn't say a word when we crossed paths that day. Just a tight nod. Update 3. So, fast forward to now, we still live together. I thought long and hard about moving out after everything, even looked at listings, toured a few questionable studios with peeling paint and suspicious smells, called a couple places that looked promising only to find out they were way out of my price range. Affordable housing, especially mid-lease, is like chasing a unicorn. I'm a student working part-time, the margins are razor thin. Breaking the lease would have cost me more than I could afford, and I wasn't about to take on another round of financial strain just to avoid the awkward tension at home. So I stayed. But the dynamic? That shifted in a big way. Taylor hasn't been the same since the envelope. I don't mean that in a vindictive, she got what she deserved, kind of way. I mean it in a fundamental, almost eerie way, like the realization that actions have consequences finally pierced through whatever bubble she had been living in. The day that check showed up, something inside her recalibrated. Ever since then, she's been doing everything by the book. Rent? Paid early, every time. Bills? As soon as I forward them, I get a Venmo with a detailed note, water plus gas plus Wi-Fi, like she's trying to be clear, transparent, accountable. And the food? Untouched. Not a single oat milk cap moved, not a single protein bar out of place, not one more missing Tupperware of meal prep. It's like she put up an invisible fence around the fridge that only she can see. There's no grand apology. No heart-to-heart. No emotional reconciliation over coffee in the kitchen. And to be honest, I'm fine with that. We still talk, technically. We talk about the weather, how late the bus was, whether the mail came, if we need to reorder garbage bags. We talk like coworkers forced to share a cubicle, polite, efficient, emotionally sterilized. The kind of conversation that fills space without ever touching depth. And that's the part that stings, I guess. Because before all this, there was a real friendship. We used to laugh until we cried over dumb memes. We used to do laundry together and play music while folding clothes. We'd sit on the floor with takeout and dissect every detail of our lives. But that version of us? It's dead. Whatever lived between us as friends didn't survive the slow accumulation of resentment, the silence, the financial burden, the unspoken disappointments. Now we're just two people cohabiting with a past that neither of us really knows how to talk about. I've learned my lesson. Set boundaries early. Enforce them hard. Don't wait until you're angry. Don't wait until you're buried under the weight of politeness and unspoken resentment. I used to think being the chill roommate was a badge of honor. That going with the flow meant I was easy to live with, easy to get along with. But what it really meant was that I let things slide until I couldn't anymore. I let grace become permission. I let generosity become expectation. And I paid the price, literally and emotionally. I don't think Taylor's a bad person. I really don't. I think she grew up in a world where someone always fixed it when she messed up. Where asking for help meant never having to say thank you. Where consequences were soft landings, not brick walls. She wasn't malicious, she was just used to being rescued. And I don't think it ever occurred to her that I wouldn't keep playing the part. That I could say no. That I would hold the line. But now she knows. Now she knows that I won't sacrifice my stability to keep her comfortable. That I'm not a backup plan. That kindness has limits. That friendship doesn't entitle anyone to someone else's wallet, time, or labor. The moment her parents had to bail her out, the moment she had to make that call and explain to them why she needed money to pay me back, something must have shifted. Because she hasn't crossed a line since. It's like the facade cracked and she saw herself, maybe for the first time, from the outside. Not as the quirky friend with poor timing, but as the person who had used someone else's stability like a safety net. So no, I don't think I was the asshole, I wasn't cruel, I wasn't unkind, I was just tired. Tired of pretending that everything was fine. Tired of pretending I wasn't slowly drowning in silence and debt and meals I never got to eat. Tired of pretending I was okay being treated like a background character in my own life. I did what I had to do to protect myself, my peace, and my dignity. And now? Now we live like what we are, not best friends, not enemies, not trauma-bonded roommates clinging to old memories. Just two people sharing an address and keeping things functional. And honestly, that's enough. Because for the first time in months, I feel like I'm living on solid ground. I'm not constantly watching my bank account spiral or second-guessing if my boundaries will make me the bad guy. I'm just living. Living like roommates. Not like one roommate and one unlicensed emotional support wallet.